The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation building series, The Law and You. This is program number 859. Coming to you on Monday the 10th of April 2017. On this program, I will speak to you on the topic, the origins of the law and you, as part of the 20th anniversary package. But before getting into the topic, a few preliminary comments. Firstly, condolences go out to all those families which have suffered recent bereavements. And I think in particular of the family of the late Mr. Carlton Horn of Kingstown Park. He was very kind to me when I was a parliamentary representative of that constituency. And of course, our dear beloved legal friend and brother, Mr. Joel Pitt, has been laid to rest this afternoon. We had a sitting of the High Court for him this morning. But I must express a word of sorrow in that the sitting ought to have been a special sitting, but it was not. Special sittings are those when the whole of the profession is able to attend and all courts are suspended so that the proceedings in one court can go ahead. In this case, this morning, when lawyers gathered at the courthouse to pay respects to Mr. Pitt, as we have always done whenever a member of the legal profession dies, we were told that one court would remain hearing matters and the other courts would take part in the sitting. So the turnout was not as encouraging as it could have been, because we understand that 13 lawyers were at the other court, which was not involved in the sitting, which traditionally ought to have been a special sitting. Be that as it may, the family would have been buoyed by the comments which were made by the various lawyers and the judge who spoke at the sitting. Now, you will recall that last week I had issued an appeal for persons who might have had access to or who might have known about the whereabouts of the book, The Decline and the Fall of the Roman Empire. The real long title is A History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Gibbon. Well, I want to say thank you to two viewers who very kindly got in touch with me. In fact, one of them sent an email even while the program was still on the air, indicating where on the internet I could find the book I wanted. And the next morning, another gentleman brought in similar information, so I was able to locate Gibbon, and I have started reading the same. But what that has taught me is that I have made arrangements to equip myself with a reader, an electronic book reader. So I am in the process of sourcing one, so that this book and other classics which I read in my youth, I would be able to reread. So therefore, let me say thank you to those two gentlemen who very kindly provided me with the information I had sought. Now, This is, of course, the approach of the Easter weekend. In fact, we are into Easter weekend. Thursday would be Holy Thursday, and Friday, Good Friday, Monday, Easter Monday. I want to wish one and all a blessed Easter season, bearing in mind the events in the life of Christ, well, life and death and resurrection of Christ, which are commemorated this Easter season. We, as I told you last week, our church had the Stations of the Cross yesterday in Kingstown. Other churches have had similar activities, and I want to hope that we would all pay attention to the significance of the resurrection of Christ. Now I know, I know that there are some religious bodies and individuals who do not believe in celebrating Good Friday, because many people hold that they are not satisfied, they're not convinced that Christ was crucified on a Friday. Well, as I've always said, two things. One, having researched the Gospels extensively, I'm satisfied that according to the four Gospels, buttressed by passages in other books of the New Testament, the narrative indicates that Christ could only have been crucified on the Friday, and that he rose again on the third day, which is the Sunday following the Friday. But I respect those who differ and have their own views. But the second point is that whether you believe Christ was crucified on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or whenever, the important point is that whether you believe he was crucified and that he rose again and is still alive, that is the important. If you don't believe those, well, then you're not practicing Christianity, and so be it. Your views are respected but not shared by myself. All right. Now, the origins of the law and you. Most of you would have heard me relate how the law and you got started, but always remember there would be viewers who would not have seen earlier programs of the law and you. So it is not fair to say, well, oh Lord, Mr. Campbell, I hear that already, and so on. You talk about that already. Yes, you have heard it perhaps over and over again, but there are those who have never heard it. So bear with us when I relate the history. Sorry, excuse me. There was a passage in a magazine published in this country. When I would have read the passage, I will remind you of the date and the name of the publication. I would invite you now to listen very carefully, please, as I read three shortish passages. Shortish, they're not all that short, but then again, they're not all that long. So please bear with me if you really want to know how the law and you started. And when I have reached the end of the extract, I would hardly have to explain anything further, but I will. Okay, so I'm reading from the passage which begins. This is from an article published in a magazine in this country. Quote, "It is common knowledge that ignorance of the law is no excuse. Yet the vast majority of the people do not know and have no means of knowing what the law is on a particular matter until somebody breaks the law. The law is a deep secret, a mysterious something in the heads of a chosen few, a fearful and jealous mistress hidden in the pages of dusty old volumes, a confusing jungle of whereases and hereinbefores, proceeding solemnly from beneath a grey wig. It has suited the legal system to maintain the aura of mystery in which the law is shrouded. The law is seen as something to be feared and respected, not to be questioned, all-knowing and all-powerful. These attitudes to the law may have been understandable in a colonial society, when the law was seen as an instrument to browbeat the masses into submission to the will of the ruling minority. In a society that seeks to break out of the colonial womb and set itself on an independent footing, the mental navel string must be cut. In this context, it is necessary for the community to cultivate the attitude of regarding its institutions as its servants and not as its masters. The law should be seen as something designed to serve the interests of society, so that when these interests change, the law should also change in order to maintain its relevance. Such an attitude toward the nature and function of law in a society will not be prevalent unless the people are informed and alert. At present, that is at the time this article was written, at present there is, as there has always been, widespread ignorance of the law. One of the most distressing results of this is that people do not know what their legal rights are. I repeat, one of the most distressing results of this is that people do not know what their legal rights are. Each week, people are summarily dismissed from their jobs. People sustain injuries during the course of their employment. People are slandered. And people suffer countless other violations of their legal rights without being aware of their legal remedies. Thus, ignorance of the law can be very unjust. Under the colonial education system, they taught Latin, but they did not teach law. They taught English literature, but not West Indian literature. They taught the geography of Europe, but not the geography of Africa and India. That is to say, the things that mattered most to us were not taught to us. It seems to us of the educational forum of the people that law as a subject must be taught at primary and secondary level. This is what we said at the time. It seems to us in the educational forum of the people that law as a subject must be taught at primary and secondary level. We believe it is as important as any other subject, because for better or for worse, the law pursues us from the womb to the tomb. A birth certificate and a death certificate are all legal documents. So is a passport. a driver's license, a bank book. Every letter you write may be of legal importance. If knowledge of the elements of law is as important as we are arguing here, then surely our education is far from complete without it. There is an amazing large gap in our social awareness. Until we begin to teach the principles of law in our schools, it is safe to say that our people will remain in the legal wilderness. It may well be the desire of some members of the legal profession to keep things just as they are. We feel it is a pity that the local radio program, The Law and You, was terminated after only a few installments. The radio can be fruitfully used as a medium of public legal education. Unquote. These words were published in a magazine called Forum in September 1972. September 1972. This magazine was written by the members of a group called the Educational Forum of the People, of which I had the honor to have been a part. In fact, these words were written by myself. So that from at least 1972, it occurred to some of us who were busy analyzing the society that law was so critically important to people that there ought to have been public educational opportunities abounding in The Law and You. And you notice that we had recommended that law should have been taught at primary and secondary levels. The reference in the final sentence to the radio program was a program run by WIBS, as it was at the time, Windward Islands Broadcasting Service. And I recall Mr. E.A.C. Hughes, barrister at law of blessed memory, presented a few issues of the Law and You by radio at the time, explaining legal matters, and we thought that that was very commendable. But we, when I said we, our group always felt that there should be avenues for people to learn what the law is. Now, these ideas always remained with me. And when I got the opportunity to put them in practice, I did. I had the honor to have been appointed Attorney General and Minister of Justice in May 1987. And one of the things I used to do as Attorney General, as the older heads among you can recall, after every sitting of Parliament, when laws were passed, I would come on the Government Information Service television program and explain to the public what the laws were that we had passed, so that the people could have an idea what the legislative branch of government was doing from time to time. And then after I ceased being Attorney General in 1995, I gave the matter a lot of thought, a lot of planning, and in April 1997, I launched this present program, The Law and You, on this television station using my own financial resources. I bought a video camera and all the ancillary equipment, microphone and whatnot. I bought a batch of high-quality VHS cassettes because in those days we recorded things on VHS. We didn't know about the word DVD was not yet invented. and let alone flash drive and all that sort of thing. The program was taped in my legal chambers in Kingstown, and fortunately, members of the staff of GIS gave me of their spare time, particularly Mr. Jimmy Prince and Miss Peggy Carr. And then they came and they trained members of my staff how to use the camera, how to set it up and so on, and how to videotape. And so I used to sit before the camera on Mondays, present the program, and in those early days I used illustrative material. I would have cardboard and the Bristol board and things written in them, and we'll show you. You remember the older heads would remember. And so it was. The program cost a little over $200, which I paid to the broadcasting station, SVG-TV, to broadcast the program, and we got going. But after some years, I think about 5 or 6 years, the financial strain was too much. And I indicated to the station that I would have to bring the series to an end. And Mr. Paul McLeish said to me, hold on, don't close the program yet. And he put a presentation to his board of directors of the St. Vincent Broadcasting Corporation Limited. And next thing you know, he said, look, the station will sponsor the program from now on. You will not have to pay any broadcasting fees. You will not have to buy any tapes. You will not have to worry about the production. You just come to the studio and our technician will tape the program and put it on the air. And I was delighted. I am eternally grateful to Mr. McLeish and the members of staff of SVG-TV for sponsoring the Law and You for the last 14 or 15 years. And that is what keeps us on the air. Now, I do not get paid to do this program. It is a labor of love. But it is the fulfillment of a desire, a dream, an intention that the public ought to receive some kind of legal education to assist them with their daily affairs, and above all, to let them know their rights. Or at the very least, to let them know when they ought to go and see a lawyer to get advice about their rights. Now that the program has been on the air for 20 years, again, let me repeat thanks to all those who have encouraged me along the way. My family have always been there with me, and they're members of my legal staff, members of the public. I thank you. Now, the month-long anniversary of the Law and You will end with the program on Monday the 24th of this month, the last Monday in April. And I'm happy to say that the management of the station, this television station, has kindly consented to my request to allow me 1 hour of the Law and You on the 24th of April. I haven't finalized plans for that hour, but I believe it will take the form of what we used to do when we celebrated milestones. I remember when we had our program number 300, number 400, number 500. We used to go in Kingstown under the Singer Gallery on Halifax Street, and people would be interviewed at random as they passed by, and then the program would be edited, and we will show it in the evening as voices of the people. So don't be surprised if on Monday morning, the 24th of April, you see me and the camera crew standing on the Singer Gallery or some other accessible and conspicuous place in Kingstown, inviting you to give your views. And I remember one program, a gentleman left his home in Chateaubriand to come to Kingstown just to get in on the interview to say thank you for the law, and you and I do appreciate that. So Monday 24th, look out for me and the camera crew, God's willing, most likely on the Singer Gallery as usual, interviewing you as you pass by. All right? It has been a pleasure to know that a dream is being fulfilled. And I am quite convinced that since the Law and You has been on the air, thousands of Vincentians are better off for the knowledge they have received from this program. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but if it were the reverse, something would have been wrong. If after 20 years, I couldn't sit here and tell you that I feel confident that people have benefited from the program, then I might as well have closed down the program as wasting your time. But I am convinced that the program has not been a waste of time. I'm convinced that you learn, because that is what the program is designed to be. It's an educational program. Now I know I haven't had a quiz for a long time and so on, but I probably will get back to that. So as we are on the brink of the final program for this anniversary month, not for the Law and You, unless the good Lord has intervened in the meantime, I want to say thank you once again to one and all for making it possible for me to do this aspect of public service. So I look forward to being of further service to you on Monday the 24th, DV. Do have a blessed Easter, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, and may the good Lord continue to bless us all.
The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.